Bitcoin is losing key levels fast, and if this keeps up, 2026 looks set to be a full-blown bear year. But let's jump in to see how likely that is. Hi, I'm Paul with ArcisFX. This is Bitcoin 3-day cloud perspective, which we've been talking about over the last few weeks, highlighting now how the price action has moved below 98k, well into this cloud, having lost the daily 200 MA, the weekly 50 MA on the 3-day chart, and now essentially 89k is the next support level. And as you can see, before we've had reversals from Bitcoin previously, the price action has had to tap at the bottom of this cloud in order to reverse. So it seems very likely this is what Bitcoin is going to do. First, touch 89k, the bottom of this cloud, before we do get a reversal. Now, on the face of it, this all looks fine and dandy. A little bit frustrating for bulls potentially that we have to complete some of these patterns again, but the timing of this isn't looking particularly good, and I'll tell you why. This is Bitcoin monthly chart. Now, this red line here has been intact since essentially 2013, an extremely significant primary trend line. These are the previous bull runs, 2017. This is the last bull run in 2021, with a lot of air between the tops and this primary trend line. But Bitcoin really hasn't had that blow off top move, which we've all been expecting this year. And now, sadly, we have lost the 50 MA as well. And you just turn to the weekly chart, you can see we've had our first candle body close below the weekly 50 MA in the first time since the start of this cycle, which was essentially mid 2023. So this is a significant bearish sign which we've had at the end of last week, meaning that this primary trend line now is in play. Notice I've got 89k on here, which of course is the bottom of this cloud, which previously the price action has bounced from. But the issue is previously we've had the 50 still acting as support, but now the price action is well below it. And in addition to that, there's not many scenarios here which allow Bitcoin to maintain this trend line, which of course, as we just said, hasn't broken since March 2013. So if we do get a tap of 89k this month, Bitcoin can still recover because we'll still be able to have a candle body close above this primary trend line. But if the price action stays that low into December, then we're going to, of course, have a candle body close below this primary trend line, which will be a very bearish signal in the context that this is a significant trend line which has been in place for over a decade. So Bitcoin is in a bit of a perilous place right now. And you might be thinking, well, this is great. This is not a problem. This is a great buying opportunity, right? To come in here at 89k at this month when we get a bounce, maybe in the next few days, maybe next week before the end of November. But unfortunately, it's going to be curious to see how many buyers are willing to show up at this level, given the following. This, of course, is what we just talked about. We've had the first weekly candle body close below the 50 MA since the start of this cycle, which in isolation should be interpreted as the first sign that the bear market is beginning. And given that Bitcoin's 4-year cycles have 2026 pegged as the bear year, 2022 was the bear year before that, and so forth, we're not potentially entering at 89k with a lot of confidence. And Bitcoin 2-day, again, we've lost all of these support lines. We've lost the 2-day 200 MA, the POC, and diagonal trend line support, and we're currently putting in a bearish retest. 89k seems like an almost foregone conclusion looking at this chart. And then we go to this chart. This is Bitcoin daily. This is a bullish predictive which we've been looking at, and unfortunately Bitcoin has also now broken out of this pattern, essentially invalidating any bullish premise which we were hypothesizing here. And then we go to Bitcoin versus gold, and again we have completely moved out of the pattern, losing horizontal and diagonal support, which is a significant number of bearish signals stacking up for Bitcoin.
Hi there, I'm James. I'm the founder of ArcisFX. I'd like to personally invite you to join our 24/7 trading group. This is built for traders who want an edge. Inside, you'll get access to live calls on Forex, commodities, crypto, energies, and metals, along with exclusive daily analysis designed to unlock your trading potential. And this in both traditional and now in digital markets. I'm talking Bitcoin, crypto, altcoins, and tethered currencies. You'll gain early access to insider news, real-time updates, real-time support, and premium educational content. If you want to sharpen your skills and boost your success rate, then join me and Paul in this community. This is a fast-growing community of traders who are now writing their own success stories. So don't wait. Join up now. Your edge starts right here.
And the other thing is also, this is another perspective on Bitcoin monthly, highlighting the previous cycle tops. This is 2021, where you can see that the RSI was cooking at around 92, then before that at 94, then before that at 96, and then before that at a crazy 98 or 99. But you'll notice that if I draw a couple of lines here on the RSI, we can see we have now broken lower out of the range we were trading in, which is a bearish signal. So instead of moving upwards towards this upper trend line to repeat previous cycle tops, moving us maybe, up to what some people were expecting, which is, 200, 300, 400K. Well, we're going in the wrong direction. And this is the Bitcoin monthly chart. So this is a significant move on the RSI. As you can see, previous cycles have had very clear definable uptrends. And then the second that uptrend has been broken, then of course we've had a bear market. And the same again, we've had a very straightforward, steady run up in 2021. And then once we got the first bearish signal, everything starts rolling over. And this is a bearish signal. This is a bearish signal right now. And if we just zoom in, you can see this is the trading range. And now we've broke lower. And the RSI is a very good indicator of essentially what's going on under the hood with the price action. And the law of diminishing returns may have come back with a vengeance to inhibit Bitcoin's progress this year. Maybe Bitcoin's bull cycle has been minimized for multiple reasons, but maybe just simply because it's become too big now. And it's obviously very easy to make Bitcoin go from $1 to $100 potentially, but it's not so easy, going from 69K, the previous bull cycle top, and then putting in the same level of returns we did that cycle, right? From 19K to 69K. So there's a lot of reasons which we'll need to unpack in the coming weeks about why this is happening, but we have a significant number of bearish signals stacking up, making it very difficult to suggest that this traditional great buying opportunity coming in low at this trend line is actually the best play. Now we're losing key levels. Unless Bitcoin can pull off a miracle before the end of November, we're going to break this trend line and we're going to come down. And even though the bear market may not be as scary as people think, right? Maybe because obviously a move back down to 69K, 65K makes perfect sense, right? And it's only a relatively small move, and then we can continue up from there. It's not looking pretty good at the moment in terms of any further progression for Bitcoin. A lot of people have been saying, has institutional adoption broken Bitcoin's established 4-year cycle? Well, the reality is of how the mechanics of that cycle works, where it essentially, runs up to the next halving, which will be in 2028. Based on all the data we're seeing at the moment, at the end of this year, we do seem like we're teeing up 2026 to be a bear market. Now, what that means for altcoins, well, that's a different conversation, because altcoins haven't had any love this year, and Bitcoin dominance is only beginning to break down from an uptrend it's been in for 2 years. So we might see Bitcoin enter a bear market, but then the rest of the crypto market might then have a year of upwards momentum, essentially depegging from Bitcoin. Maybe institutional adoption will essentially remove Bitcoin from its monarchy-like status, its king-like status, and the crypto market will start to diverge. Now, I'll be happy about that, of course. We have to presume that if Bitcoin is going to enter a bear market, so will the rest of the altcoins. But the signals for the altcoin market are not necessarily supportive of that at the moment. So what we may see is Bitcoin now entering its bear cycle, as again, let's just draw this line on here. Right, there we go. There's the line. This is the trend which has been maintained since the beginning of 2023 following the bear market, and now we've broken it, suggesting that coming back down here to around 69K, the previous top, would make sense. And then this was our bull run. A lot of bearish signals are stacking up for Bitcoin, and if Bitcoin is going to break its 4-year cycle and it is going to avoid 2026 being a bear market, like this was in 2022, then we need to hit 89K very quickly, complete this pattern, and then bounce and recover in order to avoid losing this primary trend line, and of course to recover some bullish narratives, getting back into these patterns, Bitcoin versus gold, retaking these moving averages and these key lines in the sand, and getting back in these patterns which were providing us with a bullish narrative. And of course Bitcoin will have to now get back into this trading range we're in on the RSI, on these longer term timeframes. Not to mention, of course, Bitcoin needs to do something quite impressive, which is not just retaking the weekly 50 MA and getting a bullish candle body close back above it, but also needs to make a significant move upwards in order to allay fears that this is the beginning of further downside for Bitcoin. So the next few weeks may determine if, one, Bitcoin manages to break free of its 4-year cycle and avoid a bear market year in 2026 on the back of good but quite muted progression this year, or it will confirm the bear market, which we have to presume will be the case until we see data points to the contrary. But the question remains, of course, what will happen to the rest of the crypto market? Will they continue to head lower because they're pretty much on the bottom right now, or will they have some love as Bitcoin has a markdown year with potentially some consolidation leading into 2027? So a lot of questions still need to be answered, but Bitcoin's bull run is now in jeopardy, and all the signals are pointing to more bearish price action in 2026. So if you're a Bitcoin or crypto investor, make sure you click that subscribe button so we can keep you updated. as Bitcoin still has a little bit of time to pull a rabbit out of its hat. But right now, whatever trick it pulls is going to have to be impressive. Otherwise, the bearish signals are going to stack up to the point where bulls just will not be showing up for a while. But let's just touch base with key levels to watch this week. So this is the 2-hour chart, and Bitcoin has since lost 93k as local support, and now it has tapped pretty much 89k with a bit of a meager bounce, if I'm honest. So local support currently is 89k, but also 89k is serving as an invalidation line for bullish continuation. So if we do lose that, it's pretty much bear time for Bitcoin. We have local support just overhead with 93k and 96k. So those are the immediate levels to watch for upside continuation. For example, if we do see a better bounce from here and we take 93 and then we take 96, there are some signals which you can trade off. But of course, mid-level resistance is quite significant between 98k and 100k just overhead. You can see that the previous double bottom following the breakdown was formed at this level. And we also have major resistance as well between 102.5 and 104.5k, with the 1-week 50 MA also occupying that zone. Secondary confirmation signals would be a break of this RSI range on the 2-hour chart. So if you see the RSI break above then, that might be a front-running signal for a more significant bounce from Bitcoin. But also, aside from these levels, the 1-week 50 MA is quite significant line in the sand to be paying attention to, not just on the 2-hour chart, but on multiple time frames. So those are the levels to watch. But that's it for now. I'm Paul with ArcisFX. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop us a comment. I'll be back tomorrow with a members-only live stream with James. So if you're not a member, consider joining. It's only a couple of bucks, I think. And then I'll be here on Thursday for altcoin gems, and Friday for my weekly live stream where you can ask questions and get me to check out tokens you're thinking of trading, and to see, of course, how Bitcoin is doing at the back end of the week. And hopefully Bitcoin will still be above 89k when we next check in. Also, if you're not already in our private group, you can check out the link in the description, as we'd love to have you. Catch you in the next one.